Afi at 5 p.m.
Hold
I'm
on.
not even
Yeah.
sure of
Did it go on? Hold on a second. Yeah, it should be there.
oh,
Okay,
now
there. We're on a
now I
delay.
see something.
We're
Okay,
we're
well,
on
that
a
was a
delay,
long delay though.
and I'm hearing feedback, which I have no idea where it's coming from. So it's par for the course. All right. Well, anyway, I thought maybe my audio had stopped there for a moment, but anyway, going back to what I said, the the northern part very very active, the southern part not so much.
Yeah, and what can I say? What as soon as we moved into here in the tri-state area, as soon as the mention of enhanced thunderstorm activity, severe thunderstorm activity became possible, immediately, and I do mean immediately, last night on the 11 o'clock news, every news outlet led off. I mean, of course, they're talking about the tragedy that happened in Buffalo, but before they got into that, they said, and the forecast for tomorrow, a chance of tornadoes. Yes, that's what they kept leading out with, was a chance of tornado. I mean, like, no, nothing about damaging winds or hail or severe weather. They kept hitting tornadoes, tornadoes,
This is not.
tornadoes, and that's the way you get the viewers to suddenly take attention. But the problem was, by doing that over and over and over again, the local school officials here
Yeah.
in the tri-state area, at least up here in the Hudson Valley, said, "Oh my goodness, there's tornadoes tomorrow. We better cancel the afternoon classes, or we better send the kids home real early. Or we better shut down the schools." And sure enough, that is what happened. Now, what's going on right now out there? We have clouds. We had a downpour a little while ago. I heard one. Count them. One crack of thunder, a couple of flashes of lightning. Joe, I've seen worse
Oh, they're
scenarios in terms of thunderstorm activity
yeah,
here.
they're stronger north
But
of you. Look, was there tornado risk for rotation? Sure. It was a two. I might get
so it was originally it was 5. Originally
five,
they had 5%,
and then
but
they
then
they cut it back
after
to
looking
two.
everything over, they went back to the usual 2. So I don't know.
Yeah, they
We live in the world. We live in the world of if it bleeds, it leads. That's what we the people in the media live for. And I went through it. You went through it when they'd come in to our weather offices and they'd say, "Joe, is it really going to be as bad? Because I'm all set to lead off with this." It's just absolutely amazing how things roll out here with this kind of stuff.
yeah, if we saw a 15% risk on SPC,
Yeah.
fine, fine,
Then
fine. But
yeah, yeah.
but we didn't see. By the way, I apologize for the feedback. I have no idea why it does this. I've tried it. I'm cursed when it comes to technical stuff, Joe. It just is ridiculous. So let's yeah, it was yeah. This is not Kansas. This is not Texas. This is not Tornado Alley. Although with the weather we had back in November and December might argue otherwise. But yeah, that was just ridiculous. So let's go to the radar. And of course, we're all going to be thrown into the same bowl of soup after this is all over with. But no matter, I'm not going to lose my mind over it. Uh, there was tornado risk. You mentioned that there's a possibility that there's rotation, and that's all I said uh, with regards to this. This was earlier this morning, and then when they reduced the risk area, they not one tornado watch up. By the way, I want to point out they're all severe thunderstorm
Right.
watches that went out, and not
Right.
tornado watches. Okay, more more technical issues. I'm trying to bring the radar up. There, there we go. Finally. Okay. So let's start with the OKX radar. And there's a cell that moved off of Monmouth County and then went up into Long Island, and that's weakened. So that's the marine layer at work. The main line, though, Joe, is north of you, Dutchess County, Poughkeepsie. We've got one on the last frame. We've got 1, 2, 3. Looks like 4 severe thunderstorm warnings that are headed up toward the Albany area. So let's see if I can get uh, the Albany radar. I always forget if they are EEX or ENX. Oh, nope, it's not that one.
I believe it's CNA. It would have been nice if they just stuck to the old ALB, but that's
or then they went to ALY. Here's Albany. So
right.
the Albany radar is very, very busy. And in fact, the thunderstorm line is probably all the frames are filled in. Look how fast those storms are moving through upstate New York. It's mainly from as far north as Glens Falls. We've got cells. That line extends all the way down south. The southern end of that line starts to weaken. East of you, Joe, it looks like it's going into western Connecticut now. We've got the bottom of that arm that is moving through. So a couple of things that happened late this morning, early this afternoon, that probably impacted all of this. Sometimes you get these renegade cells that develop, and that's exactly what happened. And sometimes when you get those renegade cells, they zap all the energy out of the atmosphere. They feed on all the instability, and then once they're gone, they don't leave much left. Now here's what I'm talking. Now there is a second line that's firing up now to some degree through western Bergen County in New Jersey, extending south into northern Hunterdon County. Probably right along Route 78. There's a good cell sitting there west of Plainfield. And then that goes west-southwest toward Lancaster. There's a little cluster there. But no warnings are coming out of this at the moment. And the rest of New Jersey at this time is pretty quiet. I'll bring up the Dover radar and see what that has to say. So now that's DOX. Now remember, we've got severe thunderstorm watches up and down into Virginia, North Carolina. So even here, there's like this. There's some cells firing up in southern Delaware. There's a big cell just to the southeast of Washington, D.C. That's a powerhouse cell that's there that's moving east, and you can see the warnings that are up. There's two special marine warnings and one severe thunderstorm warning that is up, and this is as of 5:09 p.m. Remember, folks, if you're watching this later, this is from we're at 5:09 p.m. Eastern time, so check your local radars and the status of whatever severe weather might be impacting your area by going to weather.gov. Let's jump to what's the next one we can go to? How about LWX? So we'll go to the LWX radar, which is Wakefield, Virginia, and see what they have to tell us. And here's that strong cell. You can see it plowed just south of Washington and moving very, very fast here. This thing must be clipping at about 50 miles an hour as it heads east into Chesapeake Bay. And then you can see these other cells, these two cells, one near Lancaster, one near the PA state line up along I-81. No, I'm sorry, that's not I-81. I'm not sure what road that is coming out of Baltimore, so I'm not sure what road that is. But you can see those cells moving to the east. Otherwise, again, the southern part of this doesn't seem to be doing very much. The northern part is where all the action is. So if you're in western Massachusetts and points northward into southern Vermont, you're probably going to get clobbered by these storms momentarily. And for everybody else, it's a matter of watching the radars and seeing how that tail, if it fires up. There's a mixture on the models as to whether it does or it doesn't. It's always tough, Joe, when it comes to thunderstorms. You get conditions could look really ripe, and then it doesn't play out according to plan.
Yep, it doesn't. And I don't know, Joe. All I'm going to say at this point is that by nightfall, by about 8 o'clock tonight, all of this mayhem should be pretty well off the coast, and we should be pretty well done with it. And we'll see the skies clear, and that should set us up for a series of fairly nice days tomorrow and Wednesday. Probably, if you had to choose the pick of the week, it'd probably be Wednesday, only because tomorrow I think we're going to see behind all this a bit of a gusty wind blowing. But those wind gusts will gradually diminish later tomorrow night, and that should set the stage for some wonderful weather, bright sunshine, beautiful conditions here on your Wednesday.
Looking at the satellite loop now, and you see the big swirl that is up in the northern Great Lakes. That's the upper low and the extending trough and cold front that are swinging through western Pennsylvania at the moment. The upper trough is actually lagging the front just a little bit, and again, that's probably why we're seeing that secondary flare up. And if you can see that blow up of clouds. You've got the lead area that's moved up into upstate New York, and that's obvious. And then there's a second blow up that's happening right now. So that's probably they're going to leave the watches alone, pending on what that does. And it moves to the east. And yeah, as you said, behind it we've got dry air. But yes, tomorrow with that upper low up in eastern Canada, there's a little spoke that comes around. So you probably are going to see some clouds that'll be in the mix. So I think Wednesday definitely is going to be the better day. And then it gets a little unsettled toward the end, toward Thursday, because we're transitioning over to what still looks to me, I didn't give the guidance a good look yet, but it still looks to me like we're going to probably have a decent weekend overall. I've been describing it as the first warm spring, certainly the first warm spring weekend we've had all spring, and possibly a dry weekend unless there's a scattered shower or thunderstorm somewhere. And it's probably the first really warm weekend we've had going back to last fall.
But did you notice on SPC that on Saturday they do have and this is unusual, that they have, I think, on day 6, a band of possible severe weather, not here, but just a stone's throw away to our west.
Yes.
And one has to wonder whether or not that might transition into just leftover shower or storm activity for us in the overnight hours of Saturday night on into early Sunday. In fact, on early Sunday, some of the progs have a cold front literally sitting right on top of our area. And, maybe we might have to deal with some showers at some point during the upcoming weekend, or maybe a little rumble or two of thunder.
Yeah, it's tough to say that the models want to earlier were weakening that front as it moved eastward. I saw the same thing. The severe weather, they were like Western New York and Western PA, which you don't often see on a day you don't see it very often on a day 6. It's day 7, I think it was on the. Or was it day 6? Whichever one it was.
Was it 6? I think it was 6.
6.
I think it was 6.
Yeah, you don't often see the risk area showing up in the long range in the northeast. Unless it's really, really obvious. But the models were quickly weakening that front as it moved eastward. So in fact, I noticed on the GFS that the showers completely disintegrated by the time it got to the coast. So that's a quick peak and then a quick fall off. I mean, no guarantee that the model's right. We'll have to examine it further. But nonetheless, yeah, it'll be probably one of the things we'll have to consider as far as the weekend is concerned. Much of the country not doing much of anything as far as showers are concerned. We've got a few in Ohio, some moving into Lake Erie. Others, you can see the southern area into North Carolina, and in coastal northeastern North Carolina extending out into the Atlantic. Also in southern New Jersey, you're seeing some showers in New Mexico and Colorado, which has been bone dry, and even back into Utah, but not enough to even remotely make the tiniest of dents in their drought situation there in the Southwest, but it's better than nothing. And we've got some rain going on in parts of the Dakotas and a little bit of shower activity in the Pacific Northwest. As Joe mentioned, the Storm Prediction Center is the remnants of today's enhanced risk shrinking because things are happening now. There's still this narrow sliver of enhanced. They're probably lagging behind in terms of what's on the radar because much of what's in that enhanced area in upstate New York has already moved further east or far enough east to come out of the enhanced area. But that extends down through much of New Jersey and into northeast Virginia. Again, we'll have to watch to see what that second line does as we head through this evening and the first part of tonight. For tomorrow, risk areas are in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, with that larger marginal risk surrounding the slight risk. And with that, we have a 2% tornado risk. On day 3, we're looking at this east-west band of marginal risk from southeastern Colorado and northwest Texas eastward across southern Missouri into the lower Ohio Valley. And then as we go to the day 4 to day 8 outlook, we are looking at some risk indicated every day. Day 4 in Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Day 5, it extends from Michigan southwest into northeast Texas, including the middle Mississippi Valley. And then day 6, we have a 15%, they're all slight risk indicators here, 15% western and northern New York, western into north central PA, West Virginia, southeastern Ohio, and eastern Kentucky. But then by day 7, what do they have? Potential too low. So some rapid weakening is indicated here by whatever system that is moving east. And as far as rain is concerned, other than what we get from these thunderstorms, Mr. Rayo, the WPC forecast for the next 7 days is at best a tenth to a quarter of an inch of precip from southern New England down into Maryland and Delaware, a little bit more from the Carolinas. This starts at 8 p.m. Actually, a lot of this doesn't even include what's going on now. Rains for Florida of up to a few inches, some tropical moisture getting involved there. And we've got Ohio Valley rains of up to an inch and a half, too, up to an inch and a half as you go up the upper Mississippi Valley, and some scattered rains up through the Rockies and up into the Pacific Northwest where it gets a little more robust along the coast. So, Joe, the HRRR, the latest run of the HRRR is very, it's very subdued. It seems to be showing less than what the radar is actually showing. It picks up on these, this sort of second line that forms, and it really doesn't do very much with it as it swings out to the east. So that's at least that particular model. And the NAM3, the 3-kilometer NAM, is even. Well, the 3-kilometer NAM, interestingly enough, after about 6 o'clock, really fires this second line up for about an hour or so in New Jersey, and then it falls apart completely. I mean, I'm looking at it here. Look at that. It just fires up, got some big cells in there, and then they're gone. They fire up in 1 hour, and then they're gone the next.
Maybe that's why that up in upstate New York and the Weather Service forecast for, let's say, Dutchess County and that is out of Albany, that after the threat remains this evening, they go partly cloudy with perhaps a leftover shower or thunderstorm during the overnight hours. And I think, I looked at that and I said, that's ridiculous. I mean, come on, you actually think there's still going to be a thunderstorm lying around some renegade at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's why you're just going to keep it in there or stick it in there? I think pretty much everything is going to be oversaid and done by the time we get to around 8 o'clock tonight. Everything will have been pushed off to the east or will have dissipated, and then we'll just have a lovely moonlit, partly cloudy night tonight during the overnight hours, and lighting up the sky, unlike last night when it was unable to light up the sky for a few hours when it was in total eclipse.
So I was going to ask you, let me just bring us back full screen, and then we'll take a look at the models in the long range and see what that's doing. So I noticed that a lot of people last night actually did have the skies break open enough to allow the eclipse, even at the coast. I got a few folks that put up shots from Long Island where the low clouds kind of parted almost like the Red Sea, just in time for the eclipse. And I was wondering whether you had the same luck, but I think, judging from what you just said, sadly you did not, apparently.
Yeah, it was not supposed to be visible. At least it didn't look to me like it was going to be visible at all across Long Island because of low clouds and fog, which, as you pointed out, magically broke open, and many folks on Long Island did get a chance to see totality. My sister, who lives in our old stomping grounds, Joe, in Throgs Neck, stepped out on her terrace. She's up on a 6th floor of an apartment complex, and oh, look, the moon is red. And then she sent me a picture from one of her old school buddies from PS14. He was on City Island and took a beautiful photograph of totality. Now, what did I see here in glorious Putnam Valley? First of all, I was showing Renata how there was a band of clear sky that was edging slowly but surely to the south and east toward where I live. And I said, okay, no problem. Probably the second half of the total phase after midnight will break into that, and I'll be able to see the second half of the eclipse. Saw a very dim view of the moon struggling to break through the clouds about halfway into the eclipse, the partial phase at about 10:45 last night. Then that kind of closed in. Then we had fog.
Right.
At one point, I think the fog was as low as 0.2 of a mile where I was. I live in an area with a lot of grass, a lot of trees. We had thunderstorms a couple of hours earlier, so that combined with the cooling temperatures and everything. So, and then around midnight, the fog had pretty much lifted, still cloudy, and now I'm going out at 10-minute intervals, looking. Now at like 12:15, now we're at mid-eclipse, and I'm looking over behind me to the north and northeast, and I'm seeing stars all over the place. I mean, it's beautifully clear overhead and to the northeast. However, the moon is not overhead. The moon is to the south of where I am, and that's where all the clouds were. And the clearing is like moseying along ever so slowly, and the clock continues to tick. Now it's 12:54. Totality is now over. So now I have missed the entire 85 minutes of total eclipse. Now it's 1 o'clock, 1:10, 1:15. Finally, about 20 after 1, the clearing has finally worked its way to where the moon is. And the moon pops out. It's about a little less than half covered. Now the eclipse is gradually coming to an end. And I looked at the moon. I said a few words to it, which are not, this is a family show, so we will not do that here. And I made a gesture, which, again, this is a family show, so I won't do that. But I did that to the moon because the moon, when it popped out, it was kind of like looking at me and saying, "Hey, Joe, where have you been? I've been looking for it." And that's when I said, "You know what? And
that was that.
Closed the door, and that was that. So, in essence, everybody all around me saw at least a part of the total phase of the eclipse. Everybody and it's including people who I said, sorry, you're not going to see it. It's too cloudy, too low. Even those people on Long Island, my sister, where I used to live, and everything, everybody, and here in Putnam Valley, wah, wah, wah.
I know. What are you going to do?
I wish I had the sound effect that they use on The Price is Right. Boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
No.
Exactly.
And now, as you know, I'm going out to the southwest for the potential meteor shower. This could be a real beautiful meteor shower.
The drought's over.
So I'm going southwest.
The drought's over.
Southwest, and it's and all of this time I've been looking at the Climate Prediction Center outlooks, the long-term outlooks, and it's been the same thing every single day for where I'm going. It's been, below normal, drought, below normal rainfall. And I'm saying to myself, good, well, at least that means it'll be sunny and clear and warm or whatever like that. Today, Joe, for the first time on the Climate Prediction Center outlook, the 8 to 14-day outlook, it says for that part of the country, near normal. And now what do you think is going to happen when I go out there? People have been praying for rain. I said, don't worry, Rayo's here. Now you're going to get
not a flake, not an ice pellet, nothing.
Dennis Cassie. I don't know if Dennis Cassie is on the chat board. I mean, both of us are into astronomy. We go back a long ways, and he sadly followed me to Lanzarote in the Canary Islands for another celestial event back in 1999. They promised, it never rains here. Oh, we're a desert. The climatological data showed that as well, or whatever. Went there. What happened the night of the event? Rain. And not only just rain, it rained hard. And, and I looked at him and he looked at me and he quoted a line from the Honeymooners. He said, well, Joe, I guess you and I are just a couple of hangnails of the fickle figure of fate.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm thinking about that last night. Oh, well, anyway. So we have showers and thunderstorms out there now. I'm looking and it's doing something out there, but it's nothing like what the media played this up to be. Tornadoes and it's going to be terrible. I mean, what can I say?
It is what it is. Well, look, we shouldn't make it sound like we're sorry that you didn't get the destruction you were looking for. So let's not go to, it's a good thing when we didn't get the tornado. If we didn't get the severe weather as advertised, that's a good thing. That's a positive thing, and that has to be remembered. I mean, the weather freaks are some of the
Now wait a
weather
minute.
freaks are going to get
I'm,
upset. I was going to mention, by the
now I'm
way,
just seeing something.
they're talking about the Mets
I'm
being
just
they canceled the Met game.
I just Joe Z on the chat board. They canceled the game. They canceled the game. All right. I guarantee you, folks, at 8 o'clock tonight, the skies will be partly cloudy. The moon will be rising through the clouds, and there are a lot of people out there. You know, this is so funny. They canceled the game. There have been situations, Joe, at Citi Field where we know that the game should be canceled. We know that I mean, it's rain in the forecast, or it is raining, or whatever like that, and they wait until they get enough people in the parking lot to pay their tariff on the parking.
Right.
And then at like 6:30, all right, we canceling the game, like that. This is like the contrary to that. I mean, we're still like 2.5 hours or 2 hours from game time, and they cancel the game. Because I guess they figured that maybe something is going to happen. Maybe a tornado is going to suddenly appear and knock down the scoreboard or something out at Citi Field. That's crazy.
Doubleheader really tomorrow. Did they make people go out and come back in and buy tickets separately for each game? How does that work?
No. Well, I'm not sure. Now, is it a split doubleheader, or is it a natural doubleheader? If it's a split doubleheader, what they do is they play a game. Well, wait a minute now. I think it probably was a game last night that is scheduled for tomorrow night. So now they made it into a double header. That means they probably going to have, two for the price of one. I don't really know what they do.
Yeah, because they stopped.
I don't know. So if I have a ticket,
double headers were so common when we were kids. I mean, I used to go to them all the time. But
I mean, if I had a ticket for tonight's game, what are they going to tell me? They're going to tell me that, well, the game is canceled tonight. You cannot go tomorrow night, but you can go any other time, or turn it in for a game later on in the season. I don't know how this all works out. The split doubleheaders are usually the ones where they have a game in the afternoon, and then there's a few-hour break, and then they have another game at night. It's very unusual to have an actual, the way you and I, when we were growing up, have a regular doubleheader where you can get two for the price of one. But oh well.
Exactly. All right, let's do a little bit of long range. Let's take a look at what's going on from that point of view. And
now that system, Joe, that we've been looking at and talking about whether it might be a tropical system or whether it's going to evolve into that on today's GFS, they did something very unusual. They had it coming up through the Gulf,
right,
crossing Florida, going out to sea, and then kind of being caught by a negatively tilted trough and curving it back in toward down east Maine or the Maritimes of Canada, and having like a 974 low
right
out there by the end of the month, and roaring northwesterly winds blowing across the entire Northeast. I mean, the gradient is super duper tight by the time we get to like May 30th, May 31st here.
We still can't get this thing inside the 7-day time frame. So I've kind of decided that I'm not even going to take it seriously now until that. Well, I mean, for sure, I wasn't taking it seriously to begin with, but now I'm really not going to take it seriously until it does that. It seems to be stuck in that zone around day 7, and it just can't seem to get past it. It's been like that for days now. So of course, every time it's every run of the model where it's 6 hours slower and everything else in the atmosphere is doing what it's doing, it just simply reacts to the timing of the troughs that are moving along, in the westerlies. So you're getting these bizarre outcomes from run to run, and that happens all the time through the summer and fall. But I think it's especially acute now that you're seeing it, because we're still at the time of year where the overall pattern, the jet stream and the westerlies are still way south than they I don't want to say way south of normal, but to some extent they are in some areas well south of where they should be. Here's our upper trough this evening, and notice the flow across from west to east from the Pacific across the U.S. and out to the Atlantic. Everything seems to be moving along, and that of course, we had that block last week that broke down. So with the more normalized atmosphere, it allows for changes to occur every couple of days. Now we do have, you'll notice by the time we get to Thursday, we do have this complex elongated east-west group of upper lows in Canada, and that is really steering a westerly flow across the United States from west to east, which again is a good thing because of the fact that at least it keeps weather systems moving. I just don't want to get, look, it's going to rain every couple of days with a cold front. That's one thing. But when you get stuck in a block, that's another. Now, the western part of this is going to drop in, and that's going to allow to a ridging along the east coast next weekend. So I think the key is with next weekend, Joe, is whether it's all fine and dandy because we've seen this many times during this time of year where you get these ridges that build in the east, and that's all fine for those of you who live at 18,000 feet. Now, if you happen to be some of the part of the poor humanity that doesn't live at 18,000 feet, then you're subject to backdoor cold fronts and that sort of thing at the low levels, and I think that's something we probably will have to look out for to complicate matters a bit. But that's a short-term problem. And as we move now, here we are at day 7. So we still have, if you look down in the Western Caribbean, the GFS takes a system off of Yucatan, moves it into the Gulf. The European has nothing like this at all. And I'm sorry, I just every once in a while I get this annoying feedback that comes back, and I'm not again.
No, that's Joe. You can blame Mrs. Rayo. Mrs. Rayo just came into the studio here with her iPad and with the volume up, and so you may have been hearing yourself that it was coming out of her iPad or whatever. And she just wanted to point out to me that one person on the chat board had asked her to tell her, could you David Schwartz? Could you pass word to Joe R. that it's a single admission doubleheader tomorrow?
Oh, okay.
And I guess she figured, I saw it a long time ago. She came downstairs figuring that I didn't see it, pointed it out to me, and she wants me to insist that I stop everything and tell everybody what somebody put up on the chat board, which she did.
Yes,
so David Schwartz, thank you.
Bless her.
Thank you. And you also gave Joe.
Bless her.
And Joe Chiaffi, you thought Joe Chiaffi had some kind of a feedback? It wasn't, because she came down with the iPad with the volume up, and that's why you could hear Joe. I'm hearing Joe through my headphones, and I'm hearing her through the iPad. And, well, anyway, right. Thank you very much, David Schwartz, for that.
So now let's go beyond day 7, where you can almost barely find whatever it is that comes out of the tropics. The European, by the way, has something down there too, but as we said yesterday, it takes it west and into Central America and then goes into the Pacific. And probably, if you think about it, that could be the more likely outcome. I honestly don't know, but to see at this stage of the game that it hasn't entered the short range after being on the models for all this time, it's kind of telling me that maybe this is not going to get to what the models are telling us. In the meantime, you'll notice that there's, again, more troughs swinging from west to east, which is a good thing. There's Joe's upper low off the North Carolina coast of whatever system the GFS has, and it sort of gets captured by some trough and then wraps up into a nice, it's not a nice storm, but it's a strong storm, I should say, over Nova Scotia and toward Newfoundland toward the end of the forecast period. But you know what? As I said, until they can prove it to me that it gets inside 7 days, then come talk to me. In the meantime, I'm not going to be losing my mind over it. And as far as let's take a look at what the models are showing here, what the GFS has on the surface. And of course, we're getting through what we're getting through tonight. The drier air, that's snow up in eastern Canada with that little feature there, that low that's north of Maine and into Quebec and Labrador and moving to the east. High pressure for Wednesday looks good. Maybe some arriving clouds in the afternoon. And then, there's energy that comes out of the central Rockies, Joe. They're just like a piece of it just sort of breaks off and brings a couple of showers in on Thursday with a low up in Superior. And then after that, it's got the ridging building off the east coast and then another approaching cold front along about late Sunday. So maybe with that, we'll probably get some showers and thunder. So unless it's fast, but that's what the model's doing here. And then after that, we kind of dry out. You can see the tropical system that the GFS has, which we don't believe that much of anymore, goes out, goes up, becomes part of a big storm up in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. And that's subject to changes 100 times between now and when we get there. But at least everything seems to be moving, which is encouraging. I'm going to take a quick look at the European here. And so on the European, there's our upper trough moving through the east. We got that, they match up with the GFS pretty well. There's the ridge that builds up this weekend, very similar to the GFS. Probably has some sort of cold front here approaching, judging by the trough that's up in the Great Lakes, extending to James Bay for Sunday night, Monday. Then that moves along. One thing is for sure, after the warm up, however things transpire over the weekend, if we do wind up with southwest winds and no complications, and we do have a warm weekend, the normalization of the flow is going to really prevent any kind of extended heat. I think that's one thing we've been saying for weeks now, and I don't see anything that suggests otherwise.
I would believe that, yes. Although I think I remember that we had the same type of scenario last year, that we went through June with a fast flow, a progressive flow, and then all of a sudden, about the middle of July or early or middle July, everything slowed down, and then we did have those days of both humidity and also heat, not necessarily extreme heat, but the heat that has been tempered by the humidity. And it was just one oppressive day after another, after another, after. Now, was it last year or the year before, which we had like innumerable humid days? I think it was the year before when we had Itaiya and those tropical systems or whatever. But anyway, you're right. At least for the moment, I don't think for the next few weeks we're going to have to worry about any slowing down, so to speak. Whatever we get, it's going to be around for a little while, but it's going to quickly move on out. And we're not going to see. Well, let's take a look at this weekend, Joe. I think we have a chance. Upper 80s, maybe to even near 90, especially inland near 90. But once that weather front moves through on Sunday morning, I think that'll open the door for a flow of cooler air. We'll probably drop back into the 70s, if not later on Sunday, certainly by the start of next week on Monday.
Yeah, sometimes the GFS does like to rush fronts through here in the east, and the European tends to be a day behind. So maybe instead of the front coming through Sunday morning, it actually winds up coming through Sunday evening with showers and storms. So that's a timing issue that we'll figure out. Meanwhile, just want to quickly go back to Tornado HQ and take a look at what's going on the radar, because we've got a ton of severe thunderstorm warnings now up in over Connecticut, mainly north of 84 and west of 91 in Connecticut, in northwest Connecticut in particular. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 that extend. It's amazing how the northern part of this line is become. And you know what the odd thing is, Joe? When you look at the risk area that was laid out originally, where they had the enhanced risk, they had only slight to marginal risk for New England, and now they wound up having to upgrade that to marginal to a slight, and it turns out that the heaviest storms are there, as opposed to where they actually had the enhanced risk to begin with. So you know what?
Right.
Sometimes that happens. So we've got severe. I'll quickly run through some of these. So we've got a severe thunderstorm warning. This is we're at 5:40 Eastern time. So again, if you're watching this on a replay, you're going to check at weather.gov and go to your local National Weather Service office for the latest real-time information. But as of 5:40, because we are live at 5:40, Hartford, Hampton, and Hampshire counties in Connecticut and Massachusetts, Fairfield and New Haven counties in Connecticut, in Maryland, Caroline, and Talbot counties, these are all severe thunderstorm warnings. In Pennsylvania, Berks, Chester, and Montgomery County under severe thunderstorm warning. In North Carolina, we've got 2 there. Chatham, Harnett, Lee, Moore, and Wake counties, also in Beaufort or Beaufort. I always forget which way to pronounce it. Martin and Pitt counties in North Carolina. And I'm just scrolling down here. There's still a couple of other ones. There's one in Dorchester and Wicomico County in Maryland. In Massachusetts, New York, and Vermont, we have Berkshire, Warren, Washington, Bennington, and Windham counties. In Mississippi has a severe thunderstorm believe it or not, in Adams and Franklin County. Thought I'd throw that one in. These are going to expire within the next 20 minutes. So by 6 o'clock, the next couple will be done. Litchfield, Berkshire, Columbia, Dutchess, and Bennington counties, covering Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and Vermont. And in 4 minutes, we're going to lose the severe thunderstorm warning that's up in Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, Schenectady, Washington, and Bennington counties in New York and in Vermont. So that kind of summarizes what's going on from tornadohq.com with respect to the severe weather. And I got to bring this up.
Christopedia just points out on the chat board, Joe, he says, I think you muted yourself. Is that possible?
Probably. No, I'm not muted. I'm not muted.
No, well, she said, I think you muted yourself, but I'm only reporting what our dear fans on the chat board are indicating. So
just a second.
David Carter says, not so much in Danbury so far, brief downpour. So anyway,
let me put this in here. This is a nightmare. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm showing I got levels.
David Carter says he can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
Oh, no. No, she said, maybe not. Christopedia says I lost sound on this TV. So it wasn't you, it was TV. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Too funny.
All right. The executive producer says you are fine.
Okay, good.
So.
And it goes, be still my heart. So let me bring up, so if those of you who were here yesterday, I mentioned the fact that I had a bear on my front porch on Friday. That was Yogi Bear. Last night, this is my neighbor, not my next door neighbor, but a couple of houses down, had Snagglepuss. A lovely mountain lion. That's no small cat, by the way. That's a pretty hefty sized mountain lion that's around. I've been talking to people. There's, for some reason, there's a plethora of wildlife this spring around here. So we've got mountain lion, we've got coyote, I haven't seen any deer, maybe because the mountain lions and the coyote are around. We've got bobcats, we've got foxes, we've got they're all over the place. But yep, that's old Snagglepuss. Exit stage left.
Stage right, left. I'm being told now that on the chat board that there's an echo. Huge echo, according to Gerard.
Okay.
Scott says echo radio. And Christopedia says, oh, look what I did. Joe Ray was echoing. Wait a minute. Gerard says, Joe, say, all rise for the national anthem.
We're both echoing now?
No, I think they're just saying I'm echoing.
Oh, you're echoing. Well,
yes.
On my end, you're fine.
Renata is saying Joe R is echoing too. Why can't you just say Joe or my husband is echoing? Why do you have to say Joe R is echoing?
Well, as opposed to saying Joe C.
Well, she could have just said yes, Joe is echoing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ezekiel says, it's the dude on the left side. So you're the dude on the left side. Are you still echoing? Because I don't hear it. I'm fine.
I don't hear it. I don't hear myself echoing either. So.
Well, you know what? On that note, with these technical, we try to do a show that's a little bit earlier. Nothing's changed since yesterday. I haven't touched anything, and apparently the technical gods are being evil. So you know what? We're going to call an end to this. It's 5:46 p.m. Weather.gov for the latest with regards to what's going on with severe weather. In case you're watching this on a replay, because this show ran from 5 p.m. till 5:45 p.m. Eastern time, and we will see you tomorrow. What's the time frame for tomorrow? Really quick.
I've got to be 8:30, Joe, because I've got another 7 o'clock appointment. But the good news is, here's the good news. The good news is that Wednesday and Thursday back to normal at 7:30 time frame.
Okay.
And then even more good news. Next Monday, I have a 7 o'clock library, 7 o'clock talk. So we can still go at 8:30. But then after that, guess what, Joe?
You're done.
I'm on vacation.
Good for you.
I'm done for a while. So
Okay. All right.
maybe we could try doing Joe and Joe from wherever we end up. But
I'm game.
But that's to be decided.
You're still echoing, so let's. I don't know what you did. Maybe you touched something, but you're echoing. And I don't hear it. You sound fine to me. So I will. We'll see you tomorrow, folks, at 8:30 Eastern time. Nighty night.